And now,
this is Jeremy Housewright of your Gate City Blue Devil football team, and you are listening to the home of the Blue Devil Sports. This is Gate City Sports Radio.
This is Michael Calhoun, speaking on behalf of the Gate City football and track team. We would like to thank you for listening to Gate City Sports Radio, home of the Blue Devils.
This is Luke Reed of the Gate City football, basketball, and soccer teams, and you're listening to the home of Blue Devil Sports. This is Gate City Sports Radio. Go Big Blue.
This is Suzanne Moore of the Gate City Cross Country and Track teams, and you are listening to the home of the Blue Devil Sports. This is Gate City Sports Radio. Let's go, Blue.
We are the Gate City Cheerleaders, and you're listening to the home of the Blue Devil Sports. This is Gate City Sports Radio.
you are listening to the home of Blue Devil Sports. This is Gate City Sports Radio.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you may be and however you may be listening to us. Thank you for making us a part of your Friday night. You're listening to the home of Blue Devil Sports. This is Gate City Sports Radio. I'm Joe Carter along with Chris Carr, and we're broadcasting to you live from Legion Field here on the beautiful campus of Gate City High School as our Blue Devils will host the Sullivan South Rebels in a tremendous interstate matchup. Sullivan South comes in at 1-2, and our Devils are 1-1 as they look at a 3-game road trip coming up the next part of the season. Here on the James River Advisors pregame show, we're going to have a breakdown of the Sullivan South Gate City matchup. We'll go over our pick and panel picks, announce the starting lineups, as well as get you ready for the previews and predictions of Southwest Virginia and Northeast Tennessee football. We'll come to you live for coverage of the game, and we'll also have you here at the campus drive-in halftime show for scores, highlights, and again a recap of the first half. Then we'll have at the game's conclusion a post-game show. We'll also give out our Delegate Terry Kilgore Leadership Player of the Game Award. So with all that being said here, we're about 55 minutes away from kickoff. You're listening to the home of Blue Devil Sports. This is Gate City Sports Radio.
Are you ready to retire? Or are you currently retired and not happy with your investments? Are you looking for a retirement specialist that cares about you and your needs? Look no further than James River Advisors. Our local office in Gate City is managed by Edwin Cox, and he is ready to take care of all of your needs. He believes in establishing long-lasting relationships with his clients based on trust. Edwin is ready to take care of your financial planning needs, college planning, investments, and much, much more. Give him a call today at 276-690-8014. Again, that's 276-690-8014. He's located at 122 East Jackson Street next to Dollar General in Gate City. James River Advisor, Inc. is a registered investment advisor. Information presented is for educational purposes only and not intended for the offer, solicitation, or sale or purchase of securities, investments, or investment strategies. Investments do involve risk, unless otherwise stated, is not guaranteed. Be sure to first consult with your qualified financial advisor or tax professional before implementing any strategy therein. Past performance is not indicative of future performances.
You are listening to the home of Blue Devil Sports. This is Gate City Sports Radio.
And we are back here live on the campus of Gate City High School. Sullivan South, Gate City. Again, kickoff here in about 53 minutes. Want to bring in, though, the man, the myth, the legend. He is Chris, the Hammer Carr. How are you tonight, sir?
Absolutely fantastic. How about you, Joe?
Ready for a great night of football again. Gate City and Sullivan South both out on the field right now, going through their preliminary warm-ups. The fans starting to come here. It looks for a packed house again with Dobbins Bennett off tonight. Again, Sullivan South traveling the short travel over from Kingsport. I think it's going to be a big crowd here tonight, Chris.
Well, when I was coming through the Wadlow Gap, I got caught behind a caravan of Sullivan Southanites. And took a few minutes to get in here. There was so many of them coming through right behind the band. So they're bringing a crowd. I'd say the visiting stands are approaching half full already, and we're still an hour to kickoff.
Yeah, it's going to be, and it's a pivotal matchup. Again, Sullivan South comes in 1-2. Of course, they had the loss to open the season with Daniel Boone, a 30-6 setback where they had 4 turnovers in the game. Then they played a back-and-forth game at Cherokee. They lost that one 32-30, and then, of course, they got back on the winning ways, 24-6 winners last week over Granger on the road. Of course, as they get ready for the rest of their schedule coming up, looking at teams like Greenville and all of them, it's going to be a pretty tough road to hoe, so they've got to get a win. Of course, Gate City, as we mentioned, stepped out of the district tonight. They will be back in action next week, though, at Ridgeview. The week after that, they'll be at Union. The week after that, they will be at George Wythe. So, pivotal matchup again here tonight between the Blue Devils and Sullivan South. So, with all that being said, first and foremost, we want to say thank you to everybody listening, and we want to also say thank you to our advertising partners. Again, makes this possible, and again, makes our ability to broadcast these games a reality. So, Premier Pharmacy, La Coretta of Weber City, Broadwater Trading Company, Farm Bureau Insurance of Scott County, Weber City Drug, Christina Kilgore Wiggs of Conservis Real Estate Group, James River Advisors, Jeff Eads for Scott County Sheriff, the Campus Drive-In, Delegate Terry Kilgore, Greg McMurray for Scott County Sheriff, M&P Repair, Maria Collarbro for Scott County Supervisor, the Law Office of Jesse Walker McMurray, Nova Health and Rehab, Rex Carter for Washington County Sheriff, Elm Croft of Johnson City, and Josh Bowling of running for Scott County School Board. So do want to say thank you to all of those individuals that have helped us to make this a reality. So, Chris, we've got a lot of matchups tonight. Not only do we have Tennessee games, we've got Virginia games, we've got interstate games, several going across the border. Again, this one right here, again, Tennessee versus Virginia. Of course, somebody that's from Tennessee that's played some of these. Do you ever see more of a rival that you want to sort of an extra incentive to win ball games against the other state, or is it just another ball game?
Well, I really think it depends on who. This game has particularly developed into a pretty intense rivalry. They've played some good games over the years, so I think this game, I'm not so much sure that it's because of it's Tennessee versus Virginia. I think it's just Gate City and South.
Two pretty close teams in terms of proximity. Again, South has knocked off Gate City the last several years. Gate City wants to get some revenge here tonight. So, with that said, let's talk about Upper East Tennessee. We'll go around the horn there. Then we'll take a look at some of the interstate matchups, and we'll end up with Virginia. Then we'll, again, break down this Sullivan South Gate City matchups, have the starting lineups, and get you ready for a great night of football action. First and foremost, let's talk about Greenville and Science Hill. Chris, I don't know which Hilltopper team is going to show up tonight. Again, the one that played a great defensive game last week, or the one that got blown out the first 2 weeks. I don't think it's going to matter which team shows up. I think Greenville is too good tonight. I think they leave Johnson City 3-1 and drop the Hilltoppers to 1-3. I've got Greenville winning going away 38-19.
I think you're probably right. Greenville is the class of East Tennessee right now, and well, until they prove otherwise, you could almost say Greenville is the class of the state of Tennessee. They're just a powerhouse.
Two-time defending state champions. Again, that game, I think, is the game of the week that WCYB is covering over in Johnson City. So, next ball game, Happy Valley and Unicoi County. You know, the Warriors have been very solid on defense, and they scored just seems like enough to win. Again, Happy Valley comes in at 3-0. And it's going to be a tall task on the road tonight. However, Unicoi County has been a disappointment. You know, they had so much momentum from last year's team. They went 10-2. But I think that this game goes back and forth. I've got Happy Valley winning a close one on the road. I've got them winning 20-19.
It's funny that you said that they've been experiencing some disappointments. Another coworker of mine is actually from Irwin, graduated from Unicoi County, and I was asking him about this game, and he said that Unicoi is thinking about changing their mascot to the Disappointments. So I look for Happy Valley to win this one.
Again, you know, Unicoi had a lot of years there they weren't successful. Then they sort of had that little rise of the last couple. But, again, this year 1-2 on the season. So, talking about disappointing, Elizabethton and Daniel Boone. Daniel Boone visits Citizens Park in Elizabethton. Trailblazers are the definition of a MASH unit right now. Again, you want to go. You mentioned it on the show the other night on Wednesday. You know, it started with Charlie Cole, All-State running back. He's gone for at least 6 weeks. 2 of their starting offensive linemen. It's just they're a MASH unit. I've got Elizabethton winning easily tonight. I've got them winning big, 63-0.
At the start of the season, I had this game as listed as one of the marquee matchups of the season, and that's just almost gone away in an instant for Boone. I think Elizabethton's going to roll over them fairly easily with those 3 starters out.
Indeed. And talking about a bit of close game that I think will happen, Hampton and Cloudland again. This is a bitter rival game. I think it's a true pick'em game for a million different ways. You know, the Jekyll and Hyde Bulldogs are at home tonight. You know, Hampton won and they've lost. They've won, they've lost. Again, I think that's just enough reason for me to pick them tonight. I think the Dogs win at home in a close one, 28-26.
Well, Hampton, in a lot of ways, got upset last week against Happy Valley, so I think they're going to be looking to enact some revenge. So I'll take them over Cloudland.
Talking about the Fighting Preston Patricks of Sullivan North High School, North will play their first home game of the season tonight. Again, they look for their 4th straight win as they host Chucky Doak. You know, I think the Raiders will probably spot them 10 points just so they can feel like it's a ball game and say, okay, it's time to play. I don't think this game will be close. Again, the home opener for the Raiders, I think they win easy going away, 39-19.
Well, North's modus operandi this season has been to fall behind big early and then come back and blow the teams away. So maybe they ought to just start down 10-0 at kickoff.
spot the Black Knights and make it a ball game. So talking about, again, another game from a little bit down the road, Sullivan Central travels to Pigeon Forge. Again, both of these teams are looking for their first win of the season. Central has been better. They scored 28 points in 2 games, but they've allowed 36 and 37 in each of those. The Tigers are 0-3. They have only been scoring a couple touchdowns a game. Back and forth they go. I think, though, Pigeon Forge at home, I'll give them the ball game, 27-20.
I went with this game just based off who was the home team. I would have picked Central if it was in Blunkville, but down there, I guess, like you said, neither team's really setting the world on fire right now, but the home field advantage, I think, will go to Pigeon Forge. Pigeon
Forge, I think they only brought back 4 starters total off of last year's team, and it was sort of a disappointing year for Pigeon Forge anyway last year. But anyway, I think a ball game that has some potential to be a close one, and Tanner Cook will be there covering it for the Times News, our panelist from the Pick'em panel. Sullivan East at Volunteer, of course, and I've got some stats on homecomings that where I don't like them, but again, it is homecoming night in Church Hill. Volunteer plays their 3rd straight home game. Again, they knocked off Sullivan Central last week, 48-19. 2 weeks ago, and then Davy Crockett came in and took care of business against the Falcons. East, they've won the last 3 of these meetings with Volunteer. I think Volunteer, though, at home, even though it's homecoming, I think they got a little bit of speed. I think they score late, and I think they win going away 32-28.
You think there'll be that many points scored?
Yep.
Okay. That's another one, kind of like the Central Pigeon Forge game. Both teams are down. They've traditionally been down for about the last decade, it seems like. I'll go with Volunteer.
So,
I think it may be a little bit more of a low-scoring affair, though. Maybe 10-7.
Ooh, no points being scored in Church Hill.
That, or it'll be a blowout 63-60.
In triple overtime.
It depends if the defense shows up.
So, again, Volunteer will host Sullivan East tonight. Now we get into some of our cross-state games, and I think a game that I don't think this game will be close at all. It's the VT game. Virginia High will be hosting Tennessee High tonight. Virginia High opened up last year's game 7-0. They collected 309 yards against Tennessee High. However, Tennessee High ended up blowing them out 42-21. The Bearcats are coming off that 12-7 loss to John Battle in a game in which they were hurt by turnovers and penalties. I don't think this game will be close again. I think Tennessee High's got too many weapons. I've got them winning 50-6.
Yeah, I don't really see Virginia High competing with Tennessee High right now. I think Tennessee High continues that streak.
So, talking about a Virginia team going to Kentucky. The Union Bears head to Letcher County Central. Again, that's one of the consolidated schools over in Kentucky. Last year, Union knocked off Letcher Central, 34-7. Union opened up a 27-0 halftime lead in that game. Letcher County opened the season with a 44-22 loss to Shelby Valley. They are a 4A team in Kentucky. I think Union wins this game. It's going to be tough on the road, though. I've got them winning 25-16.
I really don't know anything about Letcher Central. So, but I do know Union is always tough, so I'll take Union.
Yeah, over in Kentucky, it seems like Letcher County plays a little bit tougher. Again, you've got to make that trip over the mountain.
The elevation.
Yeah, it's snowing. Chance of snow there tonight. But I think Union, again, a good physical football team.